Anthony, I'll start with you. What is the Palestine Laboratory? Can you kind of lay out the core ideas in the book and why you wrote this book?
I wanted to first thank you both for having me, and thanks for organising the event. It's great to actually finally be on a panel together. Issues that actually have a lot of resonance, both about India and Israel, but also the global rise of ethno-nationalism, which I'll get to in a minute. What is the Palestine Laboratory? I define it essentially as Israel has been occupying Palestine arguably since 1948. But in many ways, since 1967, of course, it's been the longest occupation in modern times, 56 years and counting. And in those decades, Israel has developed massive amounts of tools and technologies to maintain that occupation, to control Palestinians. So in the modern era, we're talking about drones, spyware, biometric tools, facial recognition technology. All those kinds of tools are brought together to manage Palestinian lives, to control their daily movements, what they're saying, what they're doing, who they're speaking to. And that's bad enough. But what Israel has done very cleverly from its perspective, very much since the beginning, as I document in the book, not particularly since 1948, but certainly from the 1950s onwards, is export these massive amounts of tools and technologies to the world. And there have been essentially huge numbers of nations, democracies and dictatorships in those decades that have wanted a piece of those technologies. So that could be drones or spyware in the modern era. And as I document in the book, there's been at least 125 countries in the world that have got some form in the last decades of Israeli repressive tech. I noticed this week, though, in fact, Haaretz released a story. This is the Israeli newspaper. Itai Mack, who is an Israeli human rights lawyer, also a friend of mine, had put in a freedom of information request. And essentially it came through that in the last few years, Israel has allowed at least 145 nations some form of Israeli drone technology. So that's even more than 125. So essentially what I'm saying is that the Palestine Laboratory is global. And just finally, it shows that many, many nations actually want to be similar to Israel. What I mean by that is not necessarily as a Jewish state, of course, but as a nation that represses their own population, dissidents, human rights workers, whatever it may be. And using Israeli tech and repressive tools allows a country, India, Rwanda, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, the list goes on and on, to sort of almost mimic a form of Israeli repression and in some ways get away with it. I mean, in some ways, Israel is selling the concept of getting away with it. Now, you can't sell that in a financial sense, but ideologically you can, because Israel does get away with it and has for decades.